Galesburg's public golf course is officially 100 years old. Bunker Links, which opened in 1924 on Galesburg's far north side, is celebrating its centennial season with a variety of events. From parties to tournaments to commemorative merchandise and more, there's no shortage of activities this season at the place Golf Magazine calls one of the top 25 most underrated municipal golf courses in America. Here to talk about Bunker Links, past, present, and future, is longtime golf professional Bryan Luedtke. Bryan, thank you for joining me on Galesburg In Focus.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so today at least it's a rainy day, so it's a good day to be away from the golf course.
Perfect day for an interview, yeah.
Yeah. So 100 years old. Can you give us a little bit of a history lesson on Bunker Links?
Well, from what I read, when I got here 10 years ago, I got kind of a conglomerate of newspaper articles, and I put together kind of the story of Bunker Links. And what I found out was in 1924 was when the first 9 holes was finalized, and the first tee shot was hit in April by a group from the city, including the mayor at the time. And the first hole is actually our current 13th hole.
Okay.
So our current back 9 was the original 9.
Okay.
And so it ended on what is now the 12th hole, and the 12th green was at that time the 9th green. And so the first year the 9 holes was open, it was very popular, and so then the city decided to build the second 9, which is now, they flipped years later, and which is now our front 9.
Okay. And I think I read where the original price to buy the land was like $9,000 or something
like that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, any idea of how Bunker Links kind of ranks age-wise with other courses in the area?
Yeah, I know Lake Bracken's Centennial was in 2022, so a couple of years ago. And then I know Swanee is much older. They're one of the oldest 18-hole courses in America.
Oh, wow.
They're 1890 something, maybe something like that. So they're very old.
Okay. How do the older courses differ from like newer courses that have been designed in the last, 10, 20, 30, 40 years? How are the older courses different?
Well, I think Bunker Links is actually a really cool design. It doesn't have a lot of bunkers, which you would think because of the name of the course, you'd think it'd have 100 bunkers on the course, but it doesn't. It was named because the gentleman who built it was named Dwight Bunker,
right? And
he worked for the city, and so they called it Bunker Links. And so that's kind of a tidbit of info that a lot of people don't know. So the golf course, I think, stands up pretty well. Some of the greens are a little severe. I think they planned on the greens not being as fast 100 years ago as they are today. And so some of the original greens on the first 9 they built are pretty severe. And so, but you don't see it very long either. It's not a very long golf course. So I think back in those days they didn't hit the ball as far. And so, that's some of the differences that I think all the courses in the Galesburg area are probably on the shorter side.
Okay. So you said you kind of started doing some research when you first came here. How did the centennial celebration kind of come about? When did you start planning for it, and what are some of the events you have going on this summer?
When Lake Bracken was doing some of their things, I know they had like a big party out by the lake. They had a band and fireworks and stuff like that, and that's probably not in our budget to do that kind of things. But that's kind of when I started thinking, we need to be on top of this, and so last year we started merchandising our logo for the centennial and so forth, and then coming up with some ideas of things to do, a lot of advertising ideas and marketing ideas, just to let people know that the course is celebrating this, which I think is a big deal. If you told me that a tennis court or a pool was 100 years old, it probably wouldn't be any big deal.
Yeah.
But when you say a golf course is 100 years old, wow, that's a big deal,
Because it's pretty much been around the same way as it was. I mean, obviously some changes, but like a pool or tennis courts probably aren't going to be the originals that were here 100 years ago.
Correct. Yeah, same greens, probably some of the same trees maybe. And it's certainly, the clubhouse has gone through some changes. The original clubhouse is no longer with us. That burnt down.
Okay.
Like around 1960-ish, around that area there. And
was it around the same size, do you know?
Similar size.
Okay.
Yep, similar size. And so then they built this building, which is now probably about 60, 65 years old.
Okay. This is Jay Redfern. I'm talking to Bryan Luedtke, the golf professional at Bunker Links here in Galesburg, celebrating the centennial this year. So we'll talk about more about Bunker Links, but you're celebrating a milestone of your own. I think you're in your 10th season. Mm-hmm. Kind of talk about how your career path and how you landed here in Galesburg.
Well, when I got out of college, I wanted to be in the sports industry. Golf really wasn't my main focus. I played other sports growing up, and golf was one of those things that I wanted to see how good I could get at it. And I went to Europe my senior year of college and lived in Europe and went to the Ryder Cup and happened to be in Europe that year. And then I went to St. Andrews and played St. Andrews, and then played a lot of courses in the England area and got really excited about golf. And when I got back to the States, I decided to try to see how good I could get at playing, and realized that I wasn't good enough to make a living playing, but I could make a living working in the industry.
Okay. So what other sports did you play?
Football, basketball, and baseball, all the normal ones. And then played football in college and really enjoyed all the team aspect. And so when it came to an individual sport, like golf is, or tennis or things like that, that was very different for me.
Okay. Aside from the centennial celebration, what's new at Bunker Links in 2024? Any changes to the course, clubhouse? What's new?
So the biggest thing is we installed a new bridge on hole number 15. It goes over the pond, and the old bridge was really decrepit and deteriorating. And so I know the city has been working on this plan for a while, and we finally got it installed this spring. So that's exciting for us because any improvement you can do to the golf course and the facility, to me is exciting for the players, and shows the players that we're putting money or things back into the facility.
Okay. Anything else? Clubhouse or any new additions?
So on the course itself, they are planning on hopefully doing some cart path work. They're planning on doing some additional work to our entrance sign, maybe some drainage. I know our irrigation system is getting old, so there are plans in the works for some things to happen. And with the city, things can take time, but we're working on it, and slowly but surely, we're getting some things done.
Has there been any improvements in the last few years that have been kind of major?
We have done some tee boxes over the last few years, which were fabulous improvements. The greens continue to get better. I think our greenskeeper does a really nice job with the greens. We aerify twice a year. This year we're going to try, I think, some additional top dressing to make them even better. So we've done some really good things there. I think they do a good job down there keeping the course with the amount of rounds we do. Last year we did just over 32,000 rounds.
Oh, wow.
So for a town of this size, that's a lot of rounds of golf.
How does that rank? It's like in past years. Is that like one of your bigger years or the biggest year? Or?
That was the biggest year we've had since I've been here in 10 years. And since the COVID year, we've seen a spike in rounds. So it's slowly gone up the last 3 years since COVID hit. And then we've had some other area courses close, like Laurel Greens and Hawthorne Ridge and Little Swan and places like that, which I think has helped us out too.
And I guess with COVID, that was a kind of a natural. I mean, that's one sport that people could kind of distance, like everybody was suggesting. And how did you see things? I mean, did you ever have to shut down during COVID, or?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, the state shut us down for the month of April.
Okay.
So it was like the second half of March and the month of April. And, obviously we had a lot of stipulations and regulations going forward once we did reopen. But like you said, it did bring people out of the house. So people wanted to get out. They wanted to get out in nature. They wanted to be outside. And this, I think, gave them the opportunity to spend time with family or friends. And so I think it brought people back into the golf game.
Was that kind of a nationwide trend more than, not just here in Galesburg? Did golf kind of pick up all over?
Definitely a nationwide trend. So all my friends that are in the business, I've got friends all over the United States are in the business, and it's been the same type of trajectory with golf in all the states.
Okay. So Golf Magazine calls Bunker Links one of the top 25 most underrated municipal golf courses in America. Tell us about Bunker Links. What are some of the features, and how does it play?
I personally think it's a good golf course. It has a lot of features to it. Not some of the holes go left, some of the holes go right. We've got water on 8 holes. It challenges a really good player. It also is fair for the beginner or intermediate player. So, like I said, there's not a ton of bunkers on the golf course. I don't even know how many there are, maybe 4 or 5. So there's not that penalty out there. We do have some fescue areas, some like unmown areas, which you can lose your ball in, or water features where you could lose your ball. But other than that, you really don't lose your ball that much. We do butt up against some cornfields, so you can hit your shot out into a cornfield every once in a while. But I find it pretty challenging. The greens can be challenging. The greens are smaller, so you need to be on the right side of the fairway to be able to hit into the right side of the green, to be able to, manage yourself around the course to score well. And so we're seeing a lot of younger play. So we're seeing our young passes, like we have a minor pass, we have a junior pass, and we have a young adult pass. All those passes are up this spring from last year. So we're seeing the young people come out. And then our senior passes, so a lot of players that are retired or live in the area, we're seeing that increase also. So, and it's a very fair golf course for the senior because you can run the ball up. There's nothing blocking your shot from rolling up onto the green. So to me, you're seeing the beginner golfer, the intermediate golfer, and the senior golfer enjoying the facility.
Okay. What's the typical customer, not necessarily age-wise, but like, demographic area-wise? Is this mainly local? I mean, is it a destination golf course? Who do you see coming to play there?
I would say about 60% of our rounds are season pass holders. Okay. So people that live in the community, they play your core golfers, we have about 300. Last year we had 334 passes sold, which was the most we had ever done since I had been here. And back in the day, I heard we had somewhere around 800 season pass holders. So we're trying to inch our way back up. So then you're seeing 40% of people that either live in the community that just come out and pay to play periodically. Mm-hmm. They come out and play in our tournaments or our golf outings, things like that. We have a lot of fundraisers. And then we're seeing people come from Peoria and the Quad Cities that like to do, what I call a day trip. They'll come and they'll play golf and then they'll eat lunch in the community and then drive home. And so we're seeing a lot of that also. And they might bring 4 players, they might bring 8, they might bring 12, they might bring 16. So that depends, and we've seen a lot of that too.
Okay. How many employees does it take to run Bunker Links, and what are some of the jobs out there besides Golf Pro?
Well, we have some really good employees. Mm-hmm. We've hired a few new ones this year, which is exciting for me. It's fun to see new people get involved. We have a great group of high school kids that work for us. So they park the carts at night, they clean the carts, they take out the garbage, they pick the driving range, clean the driving range balls, get everything ready for the next day after the, usage for the day. Mm-hmm. So that job is a great job for a kid. Usually it's their first job.
Yeah. And
to me, it's a safe environment. They learn a lot about how to be on time, how to work for themselves, how to follow directions, So to me, it's a great first job. And then we have some what I call seniors running the golf shop, where they're behind the counter. They are just looking for something to do or a second job type of thing. And, they find it rewarding because they get to interact with a lot of people they know, and it's a friendly environment. And so I tend to hire people that are on the friendly side, don't necessarily have to know anything about golf.
And who doesn't like to hang around the golf course, right?
Right.
I mean, there is something, just kind of nice and enjoyable just to be around the golf course, even if you don't play.
90% of the time or 95% of the time, people are in a good mood. Sometimes they have a bad day and you realize, hey, everybody's not going to have their best day all the time, or they might have a bad round. And so those are things you have to deal with too. But it is a nice view. I like going to the course every day, and that's my view from my office.
Yeah. You kind of started to talk about this, but we always hear how affordable it is to play at Bunker Links. Can you talk a little bit about the price structure from individual rounds and season passes? How's it work?
So currently we are in March, which is we have our spring special. So We have a $24 golf 18 holes with a cart, and that's celebrating our 100th anniversary in 2024. So we decided to do something like that. And then once we go to our regular rate, we're going to be $37 for 18 holes in a cart. And then at 1 o'clock, we drop to a twilight rate. And then at 4 o'clock, we drop to a twilight rate. So, depending on what time of the day you like to play, we're seeing obviously a ton of play in the morning with our core group. And then in the afternoons, we get people that are what I call, maybe your working class people that are coming out maybe after work or day off or things like that. They play in the afternoon. And then late in the afternoon, we get a lot of people that are done with working for the day, and they come out and they try to play 9 or 18 late in the afternoon. And to me, golf is very affordable, especially in Galesburg. And we have a program called Family Golf, where if you bring out your child or your grandchild or whatever, it's very reasonable price. It's $2.50 per player. Mm-hmm. Now that's after 4 o'clock every day of the week. So if you want to bring out your child to experiment with golf to see if they like it, we have clubs for them to borrow. You don't even have to pay for them at that age. And a $2.50 for golf, you can't beat that.
How about the passes? You mentioned that, I think you said like 60% are passes. How much do the passes run?
So our senior pass with a cart is $1,050, I believe, something close to that. And then the regular pass with a cart is like $1,150. And our lowest pass, the minor pass, which is kids that are under the age of 19, is like $175 for the year. To go out there and walk and play as many rounds as you want. So to me, it's very reasonable.
Yeah. This is Jay Redfern. I'm talking to Bryan Luedtke, the golf professional at Bunker Links. So is Bunker Links available for organizations or businesses to rent for outings and fundraisers?
Yes, it is. So we have really increased our outing play the last few years. We have, I think, since COVID. So COVID kind of shut down the golf outing tournament industry for a year. And then the year after, we saw a spike in groups trying to raise money for their teams, like a softball team, a volleyball team, the Elks Club, the Legions, things like that, where they raise money for scholarships or raise money for their teams. And we are seeing a lot of that. So to me, the golf course is part of the city, right? It's part of the community where it's helping raise these funds for these other organizations. And to me, that's what we should be. We should be helping in things like that.
Okay. So, there's an ever-changing dynamic of outdoor recreation opportunities. Why is investing in golf, and especially, public courses, why is that important for the community?
I think golf brings a lot of money into the community, So if you have people coming from Peoria or the Quad Cities and they come in for the day, they're going to buy gas at the gas stations. They're going to buy snacks. They're going to go out to a lunch, or they're going to go out to dinner. They're going to use the facility. So they're bringing money into the facility or into the community. And then you have all these fundraisers and golf outings that is helping all these organizations around town too. So to me, a golf course is an important part of a community for recreation purposes and for your residents to come out and use it, right? We want people to come out there and use it as much as they can.
Mm-hmm. We always hear that it's important to grow the game. What does you sort of talked about this, but what does Bunker Links do to build a relationship with youth golfers or just youth in general?
So a few years ago, we came up with this strategy of changing to try to get more young people involved. So we took what we used to be called our junior pass. That's all we had was a junior pass for kids under the age of 19. Well, we changed that and called it the minor pass, under the age of 19. Then we created a pass called the junior pass, which was 19 to 25-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And then we created what we called the young adult pass, which was 26 years old to 30 years old. So under 30 years old, you get a substantial discount to come out and play golf. And so those are the people we are trying to hook, right?
Right.
To get to use the facility. Maybe they're in college and use it for the summer. Maybe they're out of college or working in the community, and we're trying to get them to use the facility, come out with their friends. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of kids using the facility with their friends.
Do you see as many youth golfers as you used to? I just from an observation, it seems like the All City, it doesn't seem like there are as many kids. Maybe they're just not playing competitive golf, but how do you see the numbers in youth golf?
So at Bunker Links with the All City tournaments, we are seeing, we're not seeing an increase in participation there. Mm-hmm. A lot of the competitive golfers in this town are getting older, right? And they're not competing as much as they used to. What we're seeing is the kids that are coming out and playing golf for fun. Mm-hmm. What I'm seeing a lot of personally is the two of us go out and we play a 2-person scramble versus our 2 buddies, and they're going to play a 2-person mm-hmm. scramble, and we kind of have a competition that way. And those players aren't, breaking par or anything like that. They might be breaking 40 or maybe breaking 50 for the first time. And so that we're seeing a lot of that where they're playing for fun but still trying to be
And there's nothing wrong with playing golf for fun, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, we love it. We love seeing them out there.
Yeah. How about women's accessibility to golf? How has that changed, or how do you see women's golf?
When I first arrived at Bunker Links, there was not a lot of women playing at Bunker Links. A lot of them had gone to Lake Bracken or Swangataha mm-hmm. or Laurel Greens. And so, we were trying to always be open to number one, golf outings, and then number 2, to ladies coming out and playing. Well, it seemed like when Laurel Greens closed, we got some of their golfers from Laurel Greens, and that helped our ladies out. So that's when we started a couple of leagues. We had some ladies spearhead a 9-hole league on Thursday mornings, and they spearheaded a mixed league on Tuesday afternoons. And so that got more ladies involved. And so to me, that was a good thing to see that and to see them more involved, and it got more people playing together. And to me, it's good to see the ladies out there playing and enjoying the facility because, you want everyone to feel comfortable.
You kind of mentioned you were a latecomer to golf. How did your love for the game kind of develop? I mean, at what age do you think you actually started playing?
I started playing young. We grew up really close to a 9-hole golf course. So
and where'd you grow up?
In Villa Park, Illinois.
Okay.
And so there was a 9-hole course across the street, and I remember playing a little bit as a kid, and I could hit the ball, but I never took it very seriously. When I went to the Ryder Cup in Europe, and I saw 20,000 people standing around a green in complete silence, and a player who has to putt under that conditions, I thought, wow, that was intense. Mm-hmm. That was more intensity than I had ever seen in any other sport, because typically those 20,000 people are screaming and yelling at you, wanting you to miss it.
Yeah.
And so to have them be quiet was a different, kind of a different mode. And so that was interesting to me.
Do you see that trajectory very much where a golf pro kind of develops later? I know Barry Cheeseman, for instance, here,
mm-hmm.
He was in baseball and he did play golf, but he didn't really take off until after he was done with his minor league baseball career. Do you see many people starting late and still kind of rising to that professional level?
Well, professional level, probably not.
Yeah.
Golf is one of those sports that you can take up at any age. We're seeing a lot of people for the first time come out when they're retired. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm going to finally take up golf. And I'm seeing a lot of kids out of high school now or out of college coming out and kind of starting it up for the first time. They played other sports, but now they're going to give golf a try because you can't, it's difficult to play soccer when you're 40 or basketball when you're 40, but you certainly can play golf. Yeah. So I think they're finding that out, that it's a sport that they can spend time with their friends and still be pretty good at.
Okay. So I guess it shouldn't be a surprise that you can play the game a little. I have some numbers here. You've shot a low round of 62. You've owned 7 course records. You've recorded 8 holes in one. You've competed and won a lot of numerous club and, PGA Pro events. Tell me about your game.
So I'm probably the shortest good player you've ever seen, so I don't hit the ball very far. I never really have. Best part of my game would be putting and chipping. And so I rely on that a lot. I feel like I'm a pretty good short iron player. And then mentally, I feel like good players are mentally better than than average players.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to judge wind, being able to judge the temperature, being able to judge uphill and downhill, and then having the guts to pull that off, or the experience to pull that off, I feel like I'm pretty good at that. So the competition in me loves the competition because I've competed my whole life. So I enjoy just seeing where my game is at against a better player. If you're a better player than me and you beat me, okay, that gives me motivation to try to get better.
How difficult is it for a course pro to stay sharp at their game? I mean, people think, oh, you're at the course all the time, but you got a lot of other stuff. I mean, how much golf do you play, and how difficult is it to stay sharp?
To me, it's like going to the gym. Everybody has the opportunity to go to the gym if they want to. They just have to make time.
Mm-hmm.
So are you making time before work? Are you making time after work? We certainly put in a lot of hours in the summertime, so it is demanding once we get rolling, because I do like to teach. I like to help people out teaching wise, and so that takes up some time. And I do like to compete, but to compete you have to prepare. And so you have to practice, and you have to get your game in shape to be able to compete against better players. So it's demanding, and it takes a lot of time. So there's lots of days where, you're there sun up to sundown, and that's just part of the deal. But I feel like it's fun for me, and I like to get better. And so, it's kind of a challenge.
Okay. You did mention that you do like to teach. What kind of lessons or options do you give in that regard out to bunker links?
Mostly individual lessons. We've tried clinics and adult clinics, and it didn't really fly too much with that. So mostly I give individual lessons, and then of course we have a junior program in the summertime. So and I'm the only one that teaches out there. So it is demanding to try to fit into my schedule. Typically, I try to do it at the players' time. I try to revolve around when they're available. Right. So if you're available at 8:00 in the morning, I'll see if that works into my schedule. If you're available at 6:00 in the afternoon, I'll try to make that work into my schedule. So it does fluctuate, and it is difficult at times, but we try to make it work.
Okay. What's your vision for bunker links? Say 10 years down the road, as you start your second century out there.
Second decade.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So well, your second decade, but the course is second
century for the golf course. Yeah. Well, the golf course is getting older. So, just like this bridge project, mm-hmm. we probably have some other bridges that need to be replaced too. We are talking about building some culverts over some of our water features too, which would be a nice feature. Our irrigation system is getting older. I know our greenskeeper has talked about that, where, things are starting to break down and so forth. So that probably is going to be needing to be replaced. We do have some drainage issues on the golf course. We have the fields to the north of us that drain out onto the golf course. We need to drain that water off our property and let it keep going down the line. So that's another area that we need to look at. We also need to upgrade a lot of our tee boxes. A lot of our tee boxes have settled over the years and are uneven, and we'd like to, get those where they're flatter and more playable. We did a project that with our tee boxes a few years ago, and the results were fantastic, but we only could afford to do X amount of them. So we need to do more of that too.
I'm not sure what the average stay of a pro is at a course, but I mean, what do you like about bunker links, and do you see, is this a place that you want to stay?
Yeah, I bought a house in town a few years ago, and the city, I'm vested into their retirement system and so forth. So for me, this will probably be my last destination at my age, mm-hmm. and I'm getting closer and closer to retirement. So, but what do I like about it? I like to wear different hats every day. One day I'm at my desk doing paperwork. The next day I might be out teaching. The next day I might be out administering a golf tournament or a golf outing. I might be scoring a golf outing. I might be scoring a tournament, handing out prizes. You're always wearing a different hat.
Okay. And then finally, let's finish with a rapid fire round. I'm going to say something. You give me your first thought. Okay. So your favorite golf course you've ever played?
Shadow Creek.
Okay. Toughest golf course you've ever played?
Butler National.
Okay. dream course that you've never played but would like to?
Augusta National.
Okay. How about your golf hero or idol growing up?
Greg Norman.
Okay. How about your favorite golf event to watch?
The Masters.
Masters, okay. And then who's the best golfer in the world right now?
Scotty Scheffler.
Okay. How about the best innovation to the game during your time?
The best innovation. I would say that the drivers being able to adjust the hosels has been the biggest innovation in the last, 10 years, where you can adjust the lie angle and the loft angle. And that has really helped hone in the distance that people are hitting the ball.
Okay. And then finally, you get to pick 3 golfers to play golf with. Who's in your foursome?
Well, I don't know if I ever played golf with my dad because he died when I was younger.
Okay.
So that would probably be number 1. And then I have 3 brothers. So it'd probably have to be a fivesome.
Okay. So family for your golf
definitely.
outing. How about if you had to pick some legends of the game, who would be the other 3 in your foursome?
I think Greg Norman would be one. I always thought he was a gracious loser. That's just what I thought he was. Arnold Palmer would be fun to play with. Phil Mickelson, I think, would be fun to play with. I think Lee Trevino would be fun to play with. So I'm more of an old school guy.
Okay. And that wraps up my conversation with Bryan Luedtke, golf professional at Bunker Links. Thank you for giving some information about Bunker Links, and it's a course that makes Galesburg proud. I know that. So happy birthday to Bunker Links, and thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Jay.
Okay.